AITA for telling off a customer at work for her autistic son's STEM? I, 23F, work at a grocery store as a cashier. Over the summer, I was temporarily located to the garden department in the parking lot, which I've been doing every year for 3-ish years. We have a regular whose son, approximately 6 to 8, has autism. Apparently one of his stims is spraying bottles, like the cleaning kind. I didn't know this until this incident. Our setup for the garden area till is kind of a U or C shape. We have a cart with the till so it can be taken inside overnight, and 2 tables bolted together. One table has a shelf underneath where we keep various paper towels and cleaning stuff, including a bottle of diluted bleach, as well as bags for customers buying non-plant items, pots that customers have brought back for recycling, garden gloves for the employees, etc. Around the whole thing is a table skirt that's attached to the table. I really have no say in the setup beyond moving things around on the shelf. Anyway, one day this mom brought her kid in. I saw him trying to reach around the table legs to the cleaning supplies, so I moved them down the shelf closer to me and told him those bottles are for cleaning, not for touching, and asked him to please leave them alone. Then I got started scanning his mom's stuff. Out of nowhere, a bunch of droplets hit my sunglasses and cheeks. I looked up and the kid had pulled the table skirt, which was zip-tied tightly to the table, away, stuck his arm through, grabbed the bottle of bleach, and started spraying it around. I quickly grabbed it from him as his mom laughed and reminded me he's autistic and said he has a spray bottle of water at home that he likes to spray people with. This is where I might be taught. I told her that first off, she shouldn't be encouraging him to spray people with anything without their consent, and second, that wasn't water, it was bleach, and they were both lucky I was wearing sunglasses because I could have gone blind. She was really offended and again tried to tell me he was autistic. I said that may be an excuse for him to not realize, but she needs to be paying closer attention to her kid in public places if he's going to do stuff like that. She hasn't brought her kid in since. I feel bad, because he was a nice kid and I don't know how much help she has at home, but I still feel like what I said was true. AITA for telling off the mom of an autistic child and prompting her to stop bringing him back. AITA for not punishing my middle child for screaming at my eldest and kicking her out of the house. I have 3 children: Ava, 25F, Kendall, 16F, and Darren, 13M. Kendall was diagnosed with BPD last year. She has extreme anxiety and somewhat of a short fuse. She is in therapy and, according to her, is talking to her therapist about what happened in this incident. My other 2 kids had the tendency to try to bait her and get her to freak out because they think it's funny. We've spoken to them several times, my son has been punished, etc. It got better with the diagnosis and I thought it finally gave my other 2 kids the push and realization that this isn't funny and typical sibling stuff. Ava moved out after college but lives nearby and will visit often. This week, the teenagers had a day off due to staff development. Kendall is the type to sleep in if she has nothing else going on. Both her siblings know this. I also know she got very little sleep the night before as she anticipated the day off. Anyway, I leave for work just as Ava is coming in. She didn't say she was stopping by, so it was a welcome surprise. I tell her Darren is playing video games, Kendall is sleeping. She said cool, and went to join her brother. An hour later, I get a call from Ava and she's pissed. She says that Kendall screamed at her to get the *UCK out of her house, and wouldn't stop until Ava actually left. I called Kendall. She told me that Ava and Darren came into her room, laughing, and shook her until she woke up, then left the room. She tried to go back to sleep but couldn't. Kendall was exhausted and had a rough week. She ran downstairs and asked what the hell was wrong with them. They kept laughing and told her to calm down. That's when Kendall screamed at Ava to get out of the house. I told Kendall while of course screaming isn't the best way, he understood why she did it and she wasn't in trouble. I texted Ava and said we'd speak that night, as I'd have to work. I went home afterwards and grounded Darren, taking away his Xbox. He then tried to say it was unfair of Kendall to throw Ava out as he wanted her there. I asked why they would do this and they said they wanted Kendall to come to breakfast with them. I told him I didn't buy that and accused them of just trying to get a rise out of her. He finally owned up to it. I then went to Ava's. She said it was a little of both. They wanted to mess with her and thought she'd just get a little upset. She also did genuinely want to buy her breakfast. I said there were so many ways to go about the latter and the former is bull. Ava tried to say it's unfair Thatch and Darren can't treat her like normal siblings do, because she could fly off the handle. She pointed out that I always said my home washers. I said yeah, but Kendall lives there and she has a right to feel safe. It's not like she tried to kick out Darren. My husband backs me up, but Darren and Ava are still ist. Ava thinks it's fair for Darren to be punished and her to get a lecture, but that Kendall shouldn't get off scot-free. AITA for giving my dad solo, no invite to my mom, invite to my engagement. I, 27M, am planning on proposing to my GF of 2 years Maddie, 27F. Planning on doing it by a lake, and I've already talked to her family and they will be there. I've talked to my friends and her friends. From my immediate family I decided to only invite my dad. He said this was an move because it would be tough to not bring his wife and it would create more of a rift. This will also be how the wedding will be, him getting a solo invite, so I told him if he doesn't want to come I understand, but he should know I'll save the postage if he doesn't want to come to the engagement. Me and him went back and forth, so I decided to post here for a judgment. The situation with my sisters and mom stems back to my sister's wedding 2 years ago. My two sisters are Bella, 29, and Sarah, 25. Bella got married back in 2019. I liked the guy and we became decent friends when I was a groomsman. I live halfway across the country, so traveling back is tough and I only do it for big events. I was heavily involved in my sister's first wedding. I went to the showers, bachelor party, wedding, and it was a pretty expensive couple weeks, but I was willing. 2 years ago my sister cheats on her husband with her current husband. Gets a divorce and engaged within like 3 months. I was across the country and not tuned into the situation, but my mom's stance on it pissed me off. She was always the big, do the right thing, type. Religious and judgmental fathers. Whenever she told me about the second wedding happening I was like, am I supposed to support this? She got livid and said I need to better in support as a family. I said if she would pay my ticket, my hotel and all my other expenses to come home then I would. But I'm not dropping $1,000 to come home for a cheater's second wedding within 3 years. Who didn't even respect her first marriage. My mom lost it on me and said she would not pay for me, but I had to be there. I said, I heard you're dropping $10,000 on this wedding. So you'll finance a second wedding but not your son's plane ticket home. She hung up and that's been pretty much the last conversation we've had. I didn't go to the wedding. I also refused Bella's husband's offer to be a groomsman, which pissed off my other sister. Because of all the drama I was told not to come home for the holidays. I was given the silent treatment by my mom and sisters. I started dating my GF around this time and we went a trip. I posted pics of us and my sisters commented under the photos rude things about me being too cheap to buy a plane ticket but will spend money on trips. So I blocked them both and haven't spoken to them since. My dad is the only one I keep in contact with, so that's why he's getting a solo invite. He wants the drama to end and thinks me giving a solo invite puts him in a losing spot. I told him that it's his wife's fault, the situation is where it is. So it's not really my fault. AITA? AITA for telling my Sil I hope she learns how to shut up around her son's friends? I have been married to my husband for 4 years now. Sil and I have never had the best relationship. When I first met her and the rest of my ALs, the first question she had for me is why did my parents pick such a terrible name for me? My name is Ocean and my dad is French-American and both he and my mom loved nature names, so I got a French one. The name has never been such a big issue for anyone before and I never faced a rude comment like SILs before. My husband, then boyfriend, told her at the time she was being rude and her parents told her to watch what she was saying. But my name has been a sticking point for her for years. She always asks what my parents were thinking or tells people I was bullied for my name, when I was not. Recently she started complaining about her son's friends having weird names, Hollis, Indy, Kyson, to name a few. Then last weekend we were all gathered and she asked Bill, husband and his brother, and his wife what they were going to name their first child and SIL made a point of saying thank God it was a normal name unlike mine. I told her I hoped she'd learn to shut up about names around her son's friends since she can't seem to do it around me. Most people at the table laughed. Sil was Isidan, her husband told me I was acting like she was a bully who do that to kids and it was unfair. I'm an adult and should be able to handle it. AITA? AITA for calling my friend's mom to get her daughter to clean her mess after she defecated in my bed and just left without telling me? A little context, the only reason I'm friends with her is because I'm friends with her friends. Anyways, we all planned on sleeping over my house, just because. I wasn't even going to invite said friend, let's call Anne, because she's low-key kinda weird, but I know if I didn't she'd itch and moan that she wasn't invited, etc. I'd rather keep my sanity, so I invited her. Big mistake. Everything was good for the most part, until the morning after. Let me set the scene. Anne woke me up kinda in a rush to leave. Apparently she had field hockey practice and her mom was picking her up. I was half asleep, so I'm just like, cool, lock the door on your way out. At this point I was gonna go back to sleep until I get a whiff of, I kid you not, the raunchiest smell. At first I assumed it was my dog. She's still potty training, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was her. So I get up, grab a bag and a paper towel and start searching around my room for what I thought was dog rap. Update: it wasn't dog rap, it was diarrhea where she had been sleeping. The worst part is my friends and I were looking for almost 5 minutes trying to find this erd, but instead we found literal human hit. At this point we were all gagging, so I go to my bathroom to grab some air freshener, where I find her erd-infested drawers in my garbage can. She didn't even try hiding them under stuff, just left it at the top. After I was done spraying a half a bottle of air freshener around my room, I was like, no way in hell am I cleaning this up. So I called her mom, basically giving her a rundown of the entire situation. Her mom then drove back to my house and kept apologizing while helping us clean everything. Love her mom. She even gave me $50 for new sheets. My mom thinks I was a douche for this, and Anne was probably embarrassed enough after the whole situation. And if I would have asked, she would have cleaned it up. My friends say they would have done the same thing and I didn't do anything wrong. That honestly got me thinking though, if I was really thesshole here, so AITA info we're all 16.